Hi everyone, welcome back to Hobby Farm in the Heights. I'm Ruth. I'm hoping everybody's having a great day, hopefully getting outside, getting some garden planted if your zone is able to get some warm season crops in. I'm gonna be honest, today's kind of been a rough day here at our house. Our governor announced yesterday that the stay-at-home order is in effect until May 31st, and I have to admit I'm having kind of a stinky attitude about it, but I'm trying not to. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, but I am having a lot of fun getting some crops in. Yesterday I was able to get my tomatoes and peppers in, and we're gonna walk outside the greenhouse here and show you a little bit more of what we've got going on. We're gonna try to have a fantastic day by choice, not by circumstances. So here we are. We have all our tomatoes all planted nicely, growing. They did well overnight, which I'm glad. The temperature did dip down to about 48 degrees, and so I'm not expecting them to take off gangbusters until those warm temperatures at night come up a little bit. You can see my tomato trellis in the background there. This is a homemade job out of pallets. I used the pallet posts here, and then I took the pallet boards off with my Sawzall and then ripped them down with the table saw and stapled them together. But it's pretty sturdy. I put it up with T-posts, tie it to T-posts, and it seems to do the job for me. I will probably do a post later on how I make them, just in case someone is needing to build a tomato trellis of their own. Over here we have our nice row of basil in, and I will be coming along here and kind of snipping off the tops of the basil, just like that, and doing a little pinch job. That will, oh, I love basil. That will help that basil to really grow big and bushy. I kind of figure every time I come to the garden I do a little pinching, and I usually by the end of summer have basil plants that are a couple feet tall by a couple feet wide. So pinching is really a good thing to do with basil. Just that the top leaves you just kind of pinch off. Anyway, so we have our peppers over here. You can kind of see the peppers growing. Yep, right there. And so down here, I'm going to show you my newest experiment that I'm doing. You know me, I love my experiments. This isn't it, but this is my watermelons. I do trellis my watermelons on pig panels. I train them up onto the trellis and it keeps them up off the ground. I find it better for bug control and for picking and for weeding. All sorts of things I like when I trellis. I have some flowers in here, some snapdragons, some zinnias. I like to interplant flowers within my garden throughout because to me it gives better pollination throughout, and they're pretty and beautiful and you enjoy being around. Well, I should speak for myself. I enjoy being around flowers, so I like to interplant them. Anyway, over here I have planted my zucchini, and I think I alluded to the fact that I was going to do it a little differently. Normally I have done it by what it says on the package: make a hill, put 3 to 4 seeds or plants, and grow from there. And I haven't had consistent success, I would say. We've had a lot of squash bugs over the years, and it's hard to keep them really watered when they're in a hill. We have such sandy soil here that it drains out really fast. Even with having a drip hose, it just doesn't seem to give me good results. And so I decided to flat farm it, which means no hill. And I also put in this giant T-post. I planted it right at the base. And what I'm gonna do as this zucchini plant grows is I'm gonna train it to go up this T-post all the way up. Now, I'm hoping to gain 2 things. One, because it's flat in the ground, it can stay more consistently moist, not bogged. They don't like to be soaking wet, boggy soil, but our soil is naturally so dry and sandy that it drains really well. which means we have well-drained soil, which is excellent. You just have to water a lot. 2, I'm hoping that I can keep the squash bugs under control. And we'll do more about squash bug control later, but they just are a super big problem. Last year I went on vacation for a week, came back, and my zucchinis were dead because squash plants just ate them alive. My husband kept them watered. The squash bug just kind of took over. Bless his heart. And then 3, zucchini, as you know, grows really prolifically, quickly. And it's easy to lose them, and you discover this giant zucchini that you have no idea what to do with, except, you know, feed them to the lovely birds in the background. Chickens love zucchini. And over the years, they've gotten to eat way too much of my zucchini. So I'm hoping that by growing them up this trellis, I can see them and find them easier when they're nice and small and yummy, as opposed to giant size. So that's a couple things that I'm hoping to gain from this trellising. Now, I did put one plant just in the ground, again with no hill, just flat, and just kind of compare the two and see how well they're gonna grow. I do have over here, I have some potatoes popping up already. Look at this. See this here? Potatoes coming up, and some weeds, of course. We'll take care of those. Makes me happy when stuff starts popping up. Okay, I did get sweet potatoes planted. We can come over here now. They still look super sad, but they usually look super sad and they start popping up. So the next few days I'm gonna keep them well watered, and then they'll start looking a lot better. But I did get them all in the ground, but they still look pretty sad. Over here I do have my cantaloupe. Again, I trellis my cantaloupe. I put it up here. I find that the fruit doesn't rot as much if it's sitting on the ground. I can see them. Any bugs I can see better. It just takes a little bit of patience to wind up the vines as they grow up, but I like to putter. I'm out here puttering anyway. So, and then over here right now, what I've been working on is the green bean patch. Now this year, I'm going to be planting the most of my green beans will be bush beans, Blue Lake bush beans. I got a half a pound for $2.75 at Clummy Grain and Feed. But there's a couple reasons why I like the bush variety. I have grown the pole variety for quite a few years, and at first I thought, well, maybe this is an easier way. You know how it is, your mom grows bush beans and you decide you know better, so you want to grow something else. Yeah, we've all been there. And I go back and forth, but the advantage of the bush variety versus the pole variety, I found that the pole variety, when I was picking, I'd have to wear like long sleeves and make sure it never touched my skin at all. Otherwise, I would break out an itchy rash. I don't know if your skin is sensitive. And my children, who were my voluntold helpers to help me pick, it would rash them up really bad too. And so they were not fond of it at all. And it's hard to be helpers when they're grumpy. And anyway, so the bush beans don't tend to do that. They don't have as sticky of leaf. I'm not sure what it is, and I seem to still get a really good yield out of the bush beans. And so I have switched the last couple years. And I do grow the bush beans primarily for canning. I like to can my green beans. My boys, in fact, don't like store-bought canned green beans. Once they've had yummy, tender home canned green beans, they kind of think canned green beans from the store is a different vegetable. But there is a huge difference in home canned green beans versus store-bought. There is. So the reason why I mentioned my reason for growing green beans, although I do love fresh and we eat a lot of fresh during the summer, I do not consecutive plant my green beans, meaning I don't plant a few rows, wait 2 weeks, plant another few rows, wait 2 weeks, plant another few rows. I've found the years that I've done it, there isn't much difference in maturity. They seem still to come on almost all at the same time anyway. And so when I'm in the planting mode, I like just to go out there and I just plant. And so I end up planting my whole patch at one time. I'll get a big yield. Yes, come harvest time, it's a lot of work, but we get a lot of green beans canned and we have a lot for fresh. And the Blue Lake variety, it says on the package that it sets its fruit all at once. I haven't known that to be true. I don't know if it's because I like my green beans a little on the smaller, tender side and not big where they get lumpy. I like to pick them a little on the under mature side, and so maybe that's why it tends to still have a long season for me, even though I plant them all at once. But I get a lot of fresh eating green beans and I get tons to can, and so it's win-win for me. I love green beans all the way around. So I did put down a string line, you'll see, because I like nice straight rows. And as long a row as this is, I think it's 20 feet. I forget, it's about 20 feet. And so it's hard to make a straight row that long when you're just eyeballing it. Shorter rows, I'm pretty good at eyeballing. But the longer the rows get, the more that it's harder to keep it straight. My boys are coming over to say hi. Anyway, so I did run a string line and I made a furrow about 2 inches deep. You want to put your green bean seed 1 to 2 inches into the ground and space them out about every 3 to 4 inches. There is one problem that I seem to have with my green beans, and I'm not sure how to solve it yet. But as my green beans pop up, the crows love to come into the garden and eat my green bean seedlings. So it's kind of annoying. I'm hoping that the cats around will scare off the crows this year, but we'll see. I might have to stick up a scarecrow.